Right, it looks like we are live. I am Josh St. Marie. You can just call me the Saint. I am a co-commissioner of this league, not the one that is celibate. That is our other co-commissioner who decided not to make it today. I don't know if that's because he's not a fan of his team or he's got some important stuff going on. I don't know. He never really has any. Can't really have that many important stuff going on if you're celibate. But I am joined here with Mikey, who gave Squibb his name, Celibate Squibb. How's it going, Mikey?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How do you feel your draft is going so far?
It's my first dynasty draft. I started off with kind of a mix of young and old players, so I don't really know if I'm competing this year or waiting a couple years. I kind of tried to get the best of both worlds, and I'm not exactly sure how that's going to shake out, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a couple months.
Well, we will get into your team a little bit, and we'll go through everyone's team one by one. What I did is I ended up pulling Fantasy Pros, both their redraft rankings and their dynasty rankings, just to see what Fantasy Pros thinks of everyone's team and how they rank both this year and for the future for dynasty. But before we do that, while I have Mikey here, I have to start with the drama of the first few rounds. We did this slow draft thing. We originally had the clock set at 12 hours, I believe. Your first pick was pretty easy, so we didn't know you were gonna take your time. It was pretty easy, just fell into your lap, Josh Allen. But by the time we get back around you, I don't know if you had work going on, if you decided you just wanted to troll the people that were bothering you so much, adding you like make your pick. But Mikey, what was going on there with that second pick?
No, I will take the fault for that one. I was shooting a video. I probably should have communicated that a little bit better. I think it was actually my third pick, 'cause I think Jalen Hurts was more. I think it might have been my third round pick. Jalen Hurts was my second pick, but yeah, no, I was shooting a video for UNH football, and I was just kind of busy. I hadn't really had time to look at the board how I wanted, and in the midst of kind of just I wasn't really ever really checking the chat room or anything. I would just send like a GIF or like an emoji, and I don't think that was received very well by my peers. But I do apologize. But I think I'm on good terms with everybody.
So you're saying at
no
this
harm, no
point,
foul.
no trolling. There was no trolling. It was you were at work. You weren't actually ready to pick.
I mean, no, I was definitely trolling. Just like I hadn't been able to look at the board, so I was just kind of teasing everybody, just all in good fun. And I think some people might have received it the wrong way, and that's my fault.
Now we were about I want to say 6 to 8 hour range. I don't actually remember how long it took. At a certain point, it just becomes eternity when you're sitting there looking at the
Oh
same
yeah.
board all day. But then you go ahead and go in the chat and you say you're throwing your pick on the block. Did you actually have intentions of trading that pick, or was that also just you
I
trying
would have
to
moved
kind of
back,
poke?
but nobody was really biting. I don't think I even got any offers or any messages. And I think by then everybody just wanted me to make a pick, so I made the pick. But no, I definitely was open to moving back for sure.
Now, in the middle of all this, someone ended up, giving you a call. Did you know immediately when you got the number, you're like, okay, this is someone from the league somehow has gained my number? Or did it take you a little bit to piece it together?
No, it was pretty quick because Squibb was the first one to call me, and then probably not even 120 seconds later, I got another call. I think it was a Lawrence, Mass area code. I think it was Dave. Yeah. And I texted Squibb. I was like, I know this isn't one of your buddies. And he was like, yeah, that's Dave. But no, I was busy. I had a camera in my hand, and I was like, oh Jesus Christ.
That was
And
a pretty wild move by Dave. I'm not surprised knowing Dave. It seems like a very Dave move. As you get to know Dave, Mike, you'll know that's all in good fun with him not trying to do anything too creepy. But I can see not knowing Dave getting that call, knowing it's someone in
I
the
saw the
league.
area code, and I kind of laughed a little bit. I was like, Jesus Christ. But no, I just went ahead and made the pick probably shortly
Yeah, and
after
then
that.
and then of course it all culminated in you guys getting at it a little bit in the chat. I presume it was all fun. It's hard to tell, but that is of course when Celibate Squibb, I think you called him the Celibate co-commish. That's where that first dropped. Is that something you've been squatting on for years now since you've known
No,
Squibb?
I
Or
feel like
just
I've definitely mentioned. I don't know. I feel like I've definitely called him, or I've used Celibate around him before, and just because I've known him for a couple years now, but I feel like I have used that before, but maybe not. It's definitely not. I wasn't sitting on it. I wasn't keeping one in the holster for him, but no. And I think it was just all kind of, I don't know, maybe misconstrued over Discord. I didn't mean any. I don't think anybody meant any harm, but what was going on? I just thought it was kind of regular Discord server chat. I've seen worse, so I mean, I'm sure everybody has on
Definitely.
Discord, but yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think
and
anybody took offense to anything really.
since then, I think you've become one of our fastest drafters. Really, it's everyone's drafting pretty fast at this point. There's a couple people that are they're taking their time. As I actually just got put on the block, and I will not be making my pick. I'll be waiting till this is over. I'm in an important part of my draft, so I don't want to screw that up. But since then, I think with your speed of drafting, people have kind of forgotten that was so long ago. We're now almost 18 full rounds in. That was 15 rounds ago. So no harm,
Yeah.
no foul. But that was a fun start to this draft. Add a little bit of drama. I think any good fantasy football league needs some drama, needs some rivalries. Do you consider
Got to keep it
Dave a rival
interesting.
now?
I don't know if I consider him a rival. I don't even know. Are we doing like divisions or anything? Maybe if he's in my division, we could get a little rivalry going. But I don't know. I've been talking to Dave. Me and Dave have gone back and forth since then, and I don't think it's any. I don't think it's any ill will.
Okay,
But
well,
I don't know.
my
For the
initial
sake of football,
intention
maybe he is my rival.
I was gonna say my initial intention was for Dave to be my rival. I was getting at him a little bit in the chat. Ended up he wanted the 5th pick in the draft and ended up moving to the 11th pick just to be next to me. After we went back and forth a little bit on the Discord, but you kind of stole my thunder there a little bit, Mikey. So maybe you're a little bit of my rival now because I wanted Dave. But that's all fun. How about we get into some of the teams here? And as I teased a little earlier, I have ranked the teams according to Fantasy Pros. These are not my personal rankings. A little bit of spoiler: I'm not going to come in first. If it was my personal rankings, I promise you, I would be in first. Just because, of course, I'm going to rank my team first. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Yes, let's go into this view. And I'm just gonna go. We'll go one by one with these teams. Sleeper's a little funky. Sometimes I can't get it to work right. And already off the bat, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Not sure what's going on there. But okay, the first team. Mikey, do you want to take a shot? The team that came in 12th in my rankings. Is there a team that stands out to you as the worst team?
As the worst team.
Be careful, you might make yourself an enemy here.
I know. I don't want to. That's what I was thinking of.
You want to just plead
There
the
was
fifth
one
year?
that I was looking at that looked a little bit older, but I forget who it was.
Could have been me.
Guys.
We'll get to my team. I took a 45-year-old quarterback, but
oh Jesus.
I'll go ahead and reveal it. It's this guy right here in the middle. It's Moyer, as we call him, John Moyer, a Bentley boy. Now, if you look at Moyer's starts Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence guy at all. You can see the appeal, though, stacking Burrow and Lawrence together. If Lauren hits, that's going to be really formidable in a super flex league. Then he gets himself 3 really solid, really young receivers in Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman, Jerry Jeudy. Gets himself a running back because he's been punting the position. Josh Jacobs gets TJ Hawkinson in the tight end premium league. But kind of from that point forward, it's been a little bit rough for Moyer. Does anything stand out to you here, Mikey, as you look at Moyer's team?
I like the Lawrence pick probably more than most. I think Lawrence with a new coaching staff, I think he's got Doug Peterson now. I think that'll definitely benefit him. I don't think much of anything was coming out of Jacksonville last year with what Urban Meyer left behind. So I do like that Lawrence pick, stacking 2 young quarterbacks. I'm probably higher on Jeudy than a lot of people. I like Jeudy a lot. I think that was going to be one of my picks, but I wasn't coming around. I don't know if it was going away from me or no, it was coming towards me. I think if nobody grabbed Jeudy, I was planning to get him at the end of that round, but I ended up getting sniped. And kind of like you said, towards the end there, his last maybe 8 rounds, he's I guess kind of iffy. There's a couple older guys, couple quality backups, but yeah, I don't know. I don't hate the start of his draft though. I do like the Burrow and Lawrence stack.
I really like the start of his draft. Like these first few picks, I like his 3 receivers, 2 quarterbacks, his tight end. Josh Jacobs, I don't know. We'll see what Josh McDaniels does with that offense, but he had to get a running back there. You can't really complain when you punted running back. But the one thing I did want to highlight about his roster, which is a little bit easier to see, I'm having trouble with Sleeper again. If we go and look at his actual team, the way it all slots in, right here, this is the clear problem on his team. His running back 2 is Marlon Mack. I would feel really, really bad about that if I were Moyer, especially when you look at his backups is Chuba Hubbard. He's going to need a McCaffrey injury for that to happen. It could happen. Jeff Wilson, you never know what's really going on in San Francisco. He's taking a couple shots there in San Francisco with Trey Sermon and Wilson. But that running back 2 right now being Marlon Mack seems like a pretty problematic spot for Moyer here. And I don't know about that. Russell Gage just got some competition with Julio Jones in Tampa Bay. I think Moyer kind of off to a strong start, kind of dropped the ball. And Fantasy Pros agrees they had his team just for this season ranked 10th in for Dynasty. They had him as dead last in 12th. And to one last note I'll have on Moyer's team before we move on is Moyer at this point is actually, at the time I did these rankings, I believe he had only made 15 picks. So this was before he got Trubisky and Sermon in his ranks, but he only had 15 picks, which was by far less than everyone. That should help his average ranking when you're looking at Fantasy Pros, but even with only 15 picks, when everyone else has 17 or more, he was coming in dead last. So Moyer's a bit of a wild card, likes to make a lot of trades. He'll be a very active manager. So I'm looking forward to see what Moyer does with this team. Maybe he sees something in Marlon Mack that I don't. Mike, do you like the pick of Marlon Mack or?
Marlon Mack, I think he's got Rex Burkhead behind him, and then I think I actually drafted the third string running back Damian Pierce. But I liked Marlon Mack pre-injury. I think in Indianapolis he showed some good flashes, but I think he's just always kind of been one of those guys that never really got a fair shake at it. He's always been hurt and never really got a kind of a full season in.
Yeah,
but I'll be interested to see what he does post-injury. But he does have Jeff Wilson and Trey Sermon. I know Elijah Mitchell probably has that 49er running back gig, but I mean, you never know with Shanahan and the 49ers running backs. He could just it's a kind of pick of a hat. Elijah Mitchell came out of nowhere last year, so who knows what Shanahan does with the 49er running backs.
Yeah, you never know with San Francisco. Well, let's move on to our next team. Coming in at 11th, it's Squibby. I believe his actual name is Ronnie. It's Squibb Prime's cousin, Celibate Squibb's cousin. It's spelled Squibby with a B-Y at the end, but with him coming in this low, I think more appropriate might be Squibb, the letter B, as he's the second best Squibb in this league, at least according to Fantasy Pros. Let's go ahead and take a look at his team. I think Patrick Mahomes, getting him in the third spot, he did trade up to get him in a trade I did not really like for him, but you can't really fault a man for going for Patrick Mahomes. It's a pretty good pick. Devontae Adams, these next 2 picks are a little interesting to me. I feel like I guess I don't really fault the Adams pick. The Kamara pick seems a little bit early for someone who is suspected to get a suspension. And when you start Mahomes Adams, you're kind of expecting to compete right away. And that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. He went Dalton Schultz, which was a surprising pick. It is tight end premium, but that at that point in the draft, only Greg Kittle, Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, and Mark Andrews had gone. So is Schultz the best of the rest? I don't know if I necessarily agree with that pick. Mikey, what do you see in these first few picks here made by Squibby?
Obviously, I like Mahomes. He'll probably be your quarterback for the next however many years, maybe even 5 years. He's a kind of a cornerstone piece that you could build around. I do like his receivers. I probably like his receivers more than most. I think Adams, he's 29, but he's Devontae Adams. And he does have the Derek Carr and Devontae Adams stack. So you never know. There's always the opportunity for a lot of points there. Mike Williams is a touchdown machine. Darnell Mooney, he's kind of a PPR guy. And Robert Woods is Robert Woods, although he is in Tennessee now and coming off an injury. And then I don't know, I've heard good things about Osborne, but Patterson is Patterson, and I'm not sure about Rashad White. But yeah, I guess I see why he got 11. He's a little bit older. He's got some talented guys, but his roster is a little bit older.
Yeah, he if you look at his rank for this season, it is 6th. So if he was going for a team to compete now, He did his job. I'm assuming he wasn't looking at Fantasy Pros just based on the way that his team came together, which I'm not going to fault him in for not blindly following other people's rankings. So I don't know if he's going to compete this year and he figures, I'll figure out the dynasty aspect a little later. I actually do not hate that strategy. It's one that I kind of adhere to in dynasty leagues as well. But he is ranked 11th in the actual dynasty format of this. So as a redraft team, it's not bad. It's got some question marks. Just looking through his actual roster here, I know it's tight end premium, but 2 tight ends in your starting lineup is especially when neither one's top tier tight end. I don't know how that's going to play out for you in this league format, but these positions will be weak for everyone. Very deep rosters. Let's go ahead and move to the 10th best team. And Mikey, that is actually your team, according to Fantasy Pros. Now, I love your start of Allen Hurts. I think there's probably not a better quarterback start for this year. If Hurts really can take a step forward and prove to the Eagles that he's going to be able to pass the ball, especially, with the addition of A.J. Brown, the Eagles look like they're interested in seeing if Hurts can pass it a little more. If he can pass that test, I think even getting him here at 211, that's an absolute steal. So I love that start for this year. I think it's definitely going to work out from a fantasy aspect. But talk me through some of your picks beyond that. Let's actually, since I've got you here, let's just go one by one. Give me a quick thought process of each pick. Was Allen your top guy, or were you going to go JT if he was there?
No, I was kind of hoping Allen was there, and then I kind of assumed he was going to be taken number 1 overall. So when JT was taken first, it was a pleasant surprise to get Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is Josh Allen. He's a man amongst boys out there. So I was more than happy to take him. Jalen Hurts, I mean, you touched on it really well. He's a younger quarterback and obviously has a new weapon. And he kind of got, the Eagles as a whole kind of got hot last year. And I think if they put it all together, they could make a playoff run. I don't know if they get by a team like the Rams or the Bucks, but I think the Eagles as a whole are going to do well this year. And it's always nice to have a piece of kind of success, I suppose. And Dalvin Cook's always been good to me, so I had to take him, even though he is 26 and running back years. That's maybe a little bit older than I would have liked. But if you see, round 10, I also took his backup, Madison. So between Cook and Madison, I figure I'll always have a starting running back at some point. So hopefully I just have that RB1 spot just kind of locked up right there. Tyreek Hill, I think Tyreek Hill is falling in drafts because he's in Miami. I think a lot of people are kind of turned off by Tua in Miami. But Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. And a lot of what Miami does with like kind of the short passes and screens, I think, and the RPOs, because that's kind of all Tua can do is that play action RPO stuff. I think Tyreek Hill can really benefit from that.
Before we move on, I really actually love the Tyreek Hill pick. I was looking at him at 3-1 when I took A.J. Brown. I was looking at 3 receivers there, but I had him in this order. I had A.J. Brown as my top guy. I was targeting Deebo Samuel, who then went 3-4. And then Tyreek Hill was my third, and he dropped all the way to you at 4-2. So I really like that pick. That's the one I would have happily taken at 3-1. So I love that pick.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised he was there the fourth round. But Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. I'll just talk about both of them because they're both I think they're both Ohio guys. I'm a real big fan of them, and obviously they're both rookies. So it's nice to get 2 rookie wide receivers. I'm just a big fan of both their tape, and then to see if they can put it together in the NFL will be kind of fun to watch. Gives me something to watch this season. I think Olave has a chance to do well with just Winston and that whole Saints offense. And then especially if, who knows when Michael Thomas is coming back at this point. So we'll see what the Saints can do. And Bateman, I was a big fan of last year. The Ravens their offense, obviously they run a whole lot and they really only feature like 1 wide receiver. And last year that was Marquise Brown, but obviously he's gone this year. So I think Rashad Bateman is going to step up and fill that wide receiver 1 role nicely for them. A.J. Dillon, he's obviously sharing with Aaron Jones. But I'm also a big fan of him. I'm always a fan of kind of those goal line running backs. He's 6 feet tall. He's almost 250 pounds. And I guess there's been rumors that he's going to split work 50-50 with Aaron Jones, which I'm not sure how true that is because Aaron Jones is a damn good running back, but it's always nice to have a kind of that goal line guy who can steal some touchdowns.
Looks especially good when Jones went 5-12 and you got Dillon at 8-2.
Yeah. And Dameon Pierce, I figured in case AJ Dillon doesn't really work out, I kind of wanted to just kind of build some depth at running back. And Dameon Pierce, I think he has a chance to get snaps this year. We kind of talked about Marlon Mack earlier, and he's kind of been up in the air with injuries and stuff. So I mean, who knows if he gets injured or if he even looks like pre-injury Marlon Mack. And Rex Burkhead is getting old. He's reliable, but he's getting old. So I think I mean, he's got two guys in front of him, but I don't think it would be crazy to see Dameon Pierce get some reps down in Houston above Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead at some point this season. Hunter Henry, he's another tight end I like. He's a little bit older. He's 27. He's not, or I would have preferred him to be a little bit younger. As you can see, I took Irv Smith right after. I was a big fan of Irv Smith. This will kind of play me into Irv Smith, but I liked Irv Smith the year before he got hurt. I think he tore his meniscus last year, something like that. And I think a lot of people were high on him before that, and I'm just a big fan of him. And Greg Dulcich, he's another guy kind of like Irv Smith. He's really athletic, can catch a lot. So I figured
I'll take Hunter Henry pick a lot.
I'll take
I had
Hunter
him on my
Henry.
radar.
He's 27. And then I think Irv Smith is 23, and then Dulcich is either 22 or 23. So between those three guys, I'm hoping to have a tight end for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think you will. I think you'll be fine now. Are you a Patriots fan?
Yeah, always. Definitely.
So was Strong someone you were targeting from the get-go? Lots of Patriots fans in this league.
Yeah, Strong, even though I do like Strong, I like obviously his college tape a lot. I like Strong. Even though the Patriots don't really have a history of playing their rookie running backs. Damian Harris didn't play a whole ton, I don't believe, his rookie year. I think James White was another guy who really kind of had like a red shirt rookie year. I think one of the only guys that really got snaps as a rookie was Stevan Ridley. But that being said, with Pierre Strong's kind of athletic ability, I think he ran like low 4.3. I think he was the fastest time running back in the draft. And just kind of having that upside with his athletic ability and being in the Patriots offense, I figured it was worth a shot, especially as my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th running back. So I figured, why not just I'll take a ticket there and see what happens.
I liked that pick a lot. Both your double tap there, Strong and Dulcich, were two guys I was considering. I was hoping Dulcich would fall to me and I'd have that choice. Strong was someone I was considering with my previous pick. I figured a Patriots fan being in this league. I'm also a Patriots fan would take him. I'm a little curious to see what the Patriots will do with their running backs, how much of their philosophy was McDaniels versus how much was Belichick, and got D coordinator as the offense coordinator now. So we'll see what happens there. The only two picks you really didn't go over. We'll just go over them real quick. Shakir and Samuel. I know that both of these picks were picks I believe that Squibb was targeting, so I think you sniped him on them.
Oh, really?
Maybe not Samuel, because I know Squibb really wanted Palmer, but maybe I got that backwards. But
no, Palmer's a good one too. I was looking at him. Shakir, yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of guys ahead of him in Buffalo, but I'm a big college highlight guy, and Shakir kind of reminds me of I guess I should say, like after the catch, he's almost like a Deebo Samuel light. It's almost criminal to announce them in the same sentence, but I like Khalil Shakir a lot. I like what he does. And Curtis Samuel, he had a couple nice stints in Carolina, but he never really put it all together. I don't know if he's been hurt or what, but he was a guy I liked when he was younger. And I say younger, but he's still only 25, and he hasn't really done a whole lot in the league. So I think that's just another young wide receiver you can take a ticket on, and maybe in a couple of years you see it pay off.
Well, it's clearly you put a lot of thought into each pick, and you know what you're talking about. So I think being ranked down here in 10th, Fantasy Pros thinks this year you're 11th, and from a dynasty perspective is 9. I think it's just clear you probably just weren't using Fantasy Pros rankings, but I like what you did here. I like a lot of your picks, so I think you're too low. I also think I'm too low, but we're not quite there yet. First, we've got Andrew Kime. We call him Kime, another Bentley boy here, roommate of mine. I really want to roast his team, but I think he's too low here. He went for a pretty similar strategy to me. I know he hates Kyler Murray, but I think he made the smart choice in taking Murray there at 110, especially with the way the quarterbacks were going. I was really hoping he wouldn't, knowing he hated him and knowing how much I hate Dak Prescott, which we'll get to in a little bit. I ended up getting, I think, Murray. I mean, he may hate him, but it was the smart pick. Cup, from a dynasty perspective, interesting pick to me, but I mean, how can you deny what happened last year? Great pick. Eckler, he's going to be someone I think is going to be extremely valuable this year. Of course, running backs are just, they do not hold long-term value. So I really have no problem with him taking Eckler. I think that was great value on Eckler there. I think he's going to be a beast for this year at least. And then, that's kind of how it works in Dynasty. You have good running backs for a year, and then you got to figure it out again. Deontay Johnson was a homer pick for him, as was Pickens. He is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, one of the only non-Patriots fans in this league. Ended up trading with me to take Waller. I was giving Waller some thought there, and he's like, no, I really want him. So he scoops in there, takes Waller instead. Another homer pick I'm seeing over here, Kenny Pickett. So I think kind of what's going on here is I like some of what Keim's doing from a strategy standpoint of kind of picking some players that will compete now and also taking his shots on some young guys like Pickens, like Wan'Dale Robinson, taking another shot on will it ever work for Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Woods, Thornton. He's taking his shots, which I like after building a really solid base. I think that will be good this year in these first 6 picks. I think where he's probably getting dinged here by Fantasy Pros is these reaches for his Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think he's looking to have some fun while also having a competitive team. I can't fault him for that. So, yeah, what do you think of Keim's team here?
I do like the first 3 picks. Those are some fantasy monsters right there. Murray, obviously, you get the rushing and the throwing, and Kupp is obviously a PPR monster. Same with Eckler. You could even look at a guy like Renfro that he took in the 9th, all PPR guys, and then he took his shots with like Pickens and Pickett. And then another pick I really like is James Robinson. He's only 23 years old, but I feel like he's been in the league for like 3 or 4 years now, but he's still pretty young, especially for a running back. I know he's coming off that injury, but he was a guy I was looking at. 23-year-old running back was, I think, a nice grab, especially in the 12th round. And, I mean, Travis, there's been a lot of good words about Travis Etienne coming out of Jacksonville, but still, he's a rookie who got injured. Well, he was a rookie last year who got injured, and he still hasn't really proved a whole lot on the field. And obviously, we know what James Robinson can do, so I do really like that pick.
Completely agree. I think really Keim's doing a decent job here balancing actually trying to be competitive while taking guys that he likes. Although I will say he's not a Patriots guy, and he does have a couple Patriots here, which is just it's annoying for the rest of us. I wanted at least one Patriot, but yeah, out here he got Myers, who I think he got actually at a decent value, reached I think on Thornton. But if he liked him, he had to get him in this league, so I can't really blame him for that pick. Fantasy Pros has him 9th on this season and 10th from a dynasty standpoint. Moving on now to the 8th best team according to Fantasy Pros. That would be Ryan Janiga, who's just got a nice little straight line column for us here. As he has not made a trade. He's in, he's out. He makes his picks when he wants to. He's not going to trade you. But Janiga kind of got the I don't know. I think there's a clear top tier with those 3 quarterbacks, and I'm even willing to kind of throw JT in there. But I think Janiga made the absolute right decision with all 3 of those quarterbacks off the board. He needs to get one of those 2 wide receivers. I think it's a win-win. I don't think you can really go wrong with Chase versus Jefferson. He of course goes Chase. I like the Breece Hall pick a lot too. I'm not really sure where Breece Hall's ADP is in dynasty leagues right now, but I think Breece Hall is the clear top dog of this rookie class. I have the most confidence in him producing. This is where I kind of start to disagree with his approach. DK Metcalf. I'm personally not a fan of Metcalf. I think Metcalf is a big reason that Wilson kind of fell apart. He fell in love with kind of the strength, the speed of Metcalf, where Metcalf really isn't a receiver, I think, capable of carrying that sort of workload. And now he doesn't even have the quarterback that loves looking and forcing the ball to him. He's got Drew Lock, who sucks. So that's a pick. That's where I'm like, okay, I liked your start here, but you don't have a quarterback yet, and you're getting DK Metcalf. I don't know. Am I being too harsh on this pick, Mikey? What do you think?
No, I mean, if you what is he? He's at 3.8, and then the guys who went after him were Waddle, Hill, Higgins, Pittman. I guess you could make an argument for maybe a guy like Pittman over Metcalf, but yeah, kind of like you said, just Drew Lock, the new quarterback situation, and also Metcalf. Just not sure if he's one of the guys that can carry a load like that. Yeah, definitely some not questions there, but it'll be interesting to see if he can keep up the performance with a guy like Drew Lock at the helm.
Now, with starting Chase, Hall, and then Metcalf, he's kind of effectively punted two positions here. Being a tight end premium, kind of punts on tight end. So let's start with that. What do you think of these tight ends he ended up with in Dallas Goedert, and then is it Trey McBride?
Yeah. I'm not super familiar with Trade McBride. Yeah, he must be he's a rookie. I guess he was a second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not super familiar with McBride, but I am a fan of Goddard. I liked what Goddard did last year, especially after they traded Zach Ertz. I think Goddard kind of stepped it up a little bit, and I think with a full season as the tight end one and not really having Zach Ertz bite into his kind of workload, I think Goddard can I think he could be a tight end one this year.
I agree with you, and I think Janiga, if you don't know, is an Eagles fan, so I'm sure he loved getting that pick. Him being his number one tight end, I think that's going to be fun for him. Now, the other position he punted was QB, and he went with Justin Fields, Tua, whose last name I won't even try to pronounce, and then Jared Goff. How do you feel like he did with his QBs? I kind of like Tua. That's someone I was willing to take a risk on. He didn't fall to me there, but what do you think of Fields, Tua, and Goff?
I do like Fields a lot. I think he might have even been a guy that I would have thought about if he maybe even slipped a little bit farther. But I like Fields a lot. I think he's got a lot of natural ability. He's real athletic, and I think he can be a good quarterback in the right situation. I'm not sure if or when the Bears will be able to give that to him, but I do like what Fields has to offer. Tua, I mean, Tua's Tua. I'm not super high on him, but I think as a quarterback too, or kind of that super flex position, I think Tua is serviceable. He's more than enough. And then Goff is Goff. I'm not sure kind of what he'll do this year. Who's he got? Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, and Jameson Williams when he comes back. Yeah, so I guess it remains to be seen if Goff will be serviceable this year. But I don't hate the quarterback position. He's kind of, I guess, leaning into the younger age of Fields and Tua. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens there. It's kind of a big if almost to see if those guys can start producing.
Yeah, I think when I look at this team, this is a team that I think clearly is going to struggle this year and then will be a force later. And Fantasy Pros actually agrees. They give him they rank him 12th this year, but they do rank him 4th in Dynasty moving forward. And that's because if you go to his bench, he's got a couple guys, Michael Gallup, who's not going to provide value right away. And he's got Calvin Ridley, who's definitely probably not provide any value this year. But like, if he hits on him, if he comes back and he is something, that's going to be a huge bonus for his team. He's got another one here too, in John Mechie, who's out for the year, but he's someone who I think outside of Jameson Williams is probably my favorite rookie wide receiver, just from a talent perspective. So I think that's another guy that, a year or two down the road, Ryan could be in a super good position in this league. And then I like some of actually what he's doing here down low as I'm looking at a couple players that I don't know how much longer they've got to provide him value, but Corey Davis, Julio Jones, I like them as potential dart throws, fill-ins for all these players that he took, knowing that they wouldn't provide much value this year. But this year, I think Ryan will struggle, but I think he knew that heading in based on his strategy, and I really like his team moving forward. So let's move on now to team number 7, and that is going to be Tony. Last name not Rigatoni, but we'll go ahead and call him that, Rigatoni here. He works with Kime at Dell. I know Tony well. He is a Cowboys fan. Looking to see here if he got any Cowboys, and he did right away. Got a CeeDee Lamb. A little interesting. I was really sitting there praying that he was going to take Dak Prescott, knowing that he was a Cowboys fan. I knew I was going to get stuck with Prescott just the way the draft was going, and he did. And he did maybe, I don't know if you would say a smarter move, because he did take a running back here, which is always iffy in fantasy, and he actually took 3 running backs right away. That's going to help him a lot this year, but may put him in a tough position moving forward as running backs are kind of in and then they're out. He's got Najee Harris. The Pittsburgh Steelers are running him into the ground. I like him a lot until I don't. He's probably going to fall off a cliff at some point. Henry got injured last year. First time we saw that he was immortal. Is his end coming? Chubb is someone I like a lot too this year. PPR though, he's never going to provide a lot of value there. So I don't know about the start for Tony. Going 3 running backs. I feel like that puts him in a tough position for all the other positions. What do you think, Mikey? What do you think of his whole team? Do you think do you like his start? And do you think if you don't, do you think he was able to overcome it by finding some young guys, some talent that can help him after
From
these running backs
kind of
phase
that
out?
first year perspective, I like that 3 running backs he started off with. Again, I'm not sure how long those running backs are going to last, because I know Henry, he's 28 and he's probably going to get like 300 carries this year. Harris, again, he's another high volume guy, so who knows how long those guys are going to last. I do like the Drake London pick. I think he might be the best wide receiver the best rookie wide receiver coming out this year. I'm higher on Zach Wilson than probably most. I think with the addition of Garrett Wilson in New York, I think that'll help the Jets quite a bit. And I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl like the Bengals did, like how the Bengals got Burrow some help with Jamar Chase. But I think there could be maybe some type of elevation there with adding a good receiver to the mix. And things come out of camp say Zach Wilson's looking a little bit better. So it'll be interesting to see his development. He's another guy that I would have thought about if he maybe slid a little bit further. His quarterback situation, although beyond Zach Wilson, I'm not really sure if Desmond Ridder is going to do anything this year. So that super flex position for him might be a little bit interesting, but I don't hate the Zach Wilson pick, but I do really like the start of his draft with the 3 running backs and then Drake London and also CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I think he's done a admirable job of kind of figuring out ways to build around this team that's kind of in win now mode, but also finding guys that are hopefully going to provide him value for a really long time. And like you mentioned, Drake London. I do think, though, one position that Tony's kind of whiffed on here is quarterback. I do not expect Ritter to play until at the very earliest, probably week 14-ish this season. And not having a second quarterback is it's not very fun. But I do love some of these late round picks. I think this guy right here, I do not know how to say his name. Algier, I'm not sure. I think he has a good shot at kind of supplanting Cordero Patterson. If that happens, that's kind of a steal. So I really liked that pick for him. I think it made a lot of sense trying to find some of those young running backs after this start with these 4 kind of older guys here. So I think Tony's in a pretty good spot rankings wise. He comes in here in 7th. Dynasty Pros has him 8th this season, 7th in Dynasty. I think if he hits on some of these guys, he can be good, but that QB position is going to be really tough. Now, that finally brings us to me. I haven't looked at all at Dynasty or Fantasy Pros. I made my own rankings, and so I'm not surprised to see myself this low. Obviously, I think I should be higher. I'll just go real quick through all my picks as I am on the clock. For the people watching, deal with it. You can wait. I'll make my 2 picks fast, and then it will be like, I'll average 30 minutes of picks. Not that bad. Okay, so Dak Prescott, hated getting Prescott. Not going to beat around it. Hated that start. Also hated getting Christian McCaffrey. Now, I like McCaffrey a lot. He's from Colorado. That's where I'm from. Big Colorado guy. So from like a rooting perspective, I'm going to enjoy having CMC. But what that did, getting Prescott, who's like 28, and CMC, who's 26, which is old, as you were saying earlier, for a running back, that kind of put me in a win now position. So I had to make a decision about how I wanted to handle, winning now, but also trying to build with the future in mind. So what I did is I kind of, and you'll see, is I went pretty heavy. Like, I want to have a good team this year. and then take shots later. And you'll see a pretty significant shift in my strategy here. So I went AJ Brown, Chris Godwin in F1, Terry McLaurin. I like all those picks from the sense I think they can provide now, and I also think they have some value moving forward. Godwin, of course, has the injury. When will he be fully healthy? I don't really care. I think by the time he is fully healthy, my team will be humming with him there. So Elliott's another one, older guy. I don't know how many years he has left. I think Elliott's getting severely underrated. He had a horrible year last year, according to everyone. He split the carries. He was injured, and he still was RB7. So I don't know. I think he's probably a low end RB1, even though everyone thinks he's washed. He's not. Tom Brady, I mean, he's good until he retires, is what I think. I'm aware this could be Brady's last year. So as I said, these picks right here, this is me going for it now. But here's the shift. Back to back, I go Sky Moore, Christian Watson, two I consider risky picks. They say in Dynasty to target talent over situation. These are both situation picks for me. Sky Moore is maybe a little more talented. I liked him before I saw where he landed. Christian Watson's kind of just a burner. Those guys, they're hit or miss in the NFL, but I'm hoping to hit between one of them, and then I really don't care if I miss on the other. They're both heading into situations that are missing their wide receiver ones this year. There's a lot of targets up for grab. Watson is on the pup list this year right now. No, I haven't heard what it is, but I heard from him himself that it's not serious. I don't know how much you can trust that. Now, with my start, I did punt on tight end, but I was very happy to get Cole Kmet. I think he's someone that's going to benefit a lot from new coaches. Of course, there is risk here. And I mean, tight ends is a position I think even in a tight end premium, you can win without. But I think Kmet has some really high upside. He's pretty young. Malik Willis is a pick I got a lot of crap from Squibb, but this is me pairing of someone with Brady, knowing Brady's going to give me a solid year. Now I can take a risk on someone. He's got the highest upside of any rookie QB in the class. I don't think that's very debatable. I think his potential is the highest. His floor is also the lowest. So if he busts, I'll figure something else out. But he's just a pick because I had Brady. I felt comfortable making that. Melvin Gordon, I love this pick. The Broncos have never had a running back since they've tracked the stat get over 60% of the snaps. I do not think that that's going to change, bringing in literally the captain of the running back committee, the guy who literally would only let Aaron Jones get play every other drive. I do not think the Broncos are all of a sudden going to have a workhorse back. I consider this a steal. White, not a pick. This is where I'm targeting talent. I like the talent. I hate the landing spot. Don't think McDaniels will ever favor any running back. I think he's going to use like all 6 running backs they have in Vegas. So that's just kind of a talent play there. I don't expect much from him this year. Baker Mayfield, I needed another quarterback. With Willis, I was between Mayfield and Wentz. I feel like they were both very similar value. Felt a little bad after this pick with how far Wentz ended up falling all the way down to here, which is, makes you look stupid when you take the other QB you're considering here. But Mayfield's a little younger. I don't know where he'll go after Carolina, but I needed another quarterback after Willis. DJ Chark, another guy I'm playing the talent card. I do not think that Goff is a good fit for him. Chark is one of the best deep ball threats in the league. Most metrics say top 5 deep ball threat. Goff can't throw the deep ball. This is another play I'm just kind of I'm hedging that he's going to end up in a better situation at some point, betting on the talent and knowing that Jameson Williams is probably not going to play the first few games. While I'm waiting to see if Sky Moore or Watson emerge, maybe I'll get a couple extra targets to Shark during that time, and I can play him there. Galladay is just a guy that fell. I was tired of seeing him fall, so I took him. And then Brevin Jordan with the John Mechie, I don't know how to say his last name, News. I thought that bumped Jordan's value up a lot, so I ended up taking him before I think anyone jumped on him. So that's kind of my thoughts. I know I took quite a while to go through my teams, but any comments before I move to the next team, Mikey?
I'm a big fan of a lot of the rookie wide receivers this year, so I do love going Sky Moore and Christian Watson back to back. I like those picks a lot.
Yeah, hopefully one of them can supplant, emerge as a good target. A lot of vacated targets in those situations. All right, now we're going to move, and what I'm calling the people that probably use Fantasy Pros because they're ahead of me. So that's what I think. I don't know when, at a certain point, some of these guys definitely are. But we'll go through this a little bit faster. We're moving into our top 5 now. By the way, my team was 7th on this season, 5th from a dynasty perspective, according to Fantasy Pros. JB here, he comes in at number 5, kind of a team I wasn't really keeping my eye on during the draft. So to see him this high in the rankings kind of surprised me. But now looking at his team, I can see it. I think Wilson Rogers is a really good pairing to start. No other quarterback though. So that's interesting because I don't know how much Rogers has left in the league, but I think Wilson down year last year was all because of injury and situation. I almost took Wilson instead of Prescott. So I liked Wilson. Obviously, you can't complain about Justin Jefferson, Joe Mixon. Great Kittle's interesting. Obviously, he's a stud, but what will Trey Lance be like with tight ends? There were some concerning signs in the few games Trey Lance played that Kittle was blocking a hell of a lot more with Lance back there. Elijah Mitchell, we talked about the San Francisco backfield earlier, so you don't know what's going to happen there. Obviously, Pollard, though, guy people are really high on, splitting carries with Elliott and behind or on a Dallas team that should put up points. That should be a solid pick for him there. So also Amon-Ra St. Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. He's getting himself one guy here that produced a lot towards the end of the year, another guy in a good situation. So I can see a lot of what JB's doing, but he was kind of, as the draft was happening, I was barely keeping my eye on him. I don't know if that's because he just made only one trade here where he just traded down. Looks like he took Jimmy Garoppolo, but I don't know. What are you seeing here with this team, Mikey?
I do like the beginning of his draft. 2 of probably my favorite picks from him are Chase Edmonds and Rashad Penny. He took Chase in round 10 and then Rashad Penny in round 12. I think Chase Edmonds is probably in line to see more of the Miami backfield kind of reps than the other running backs they have. And then I also think, I know a lot of people are high in Seattle, not high in Seattle, but they're high on Kenneth Walker in Seattle. But I do like Rashad Penny. I think towards the end of last year, he looked really good. And I think he is probably the running back 1 there until Kenneth Walker really proves him otherwise. Those were 2 guys I also had on my radar.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at Penny as well, especially after these comments that are coming out that he's projected to be a workhorse to start the year. To get a workhorse, even if it's only for like 6 weeks until if Walker takes over, it's a pretty good deal, especially in an offense that doesn't have a QB. Sorry, Drew Lock, you kind of suck. So yeah, I think you're kind of on it here. He's ranked 4th on this season and 6th from a dynasty perspective. So pretty balanced. Can't complain. I expect that he used a little bit help from Dynasty Pros, but if he didn't, even more impressive there. I can't really add much more. Nothing. These teams are the teams now that are going to have a lot less to complain about. I do think the QB situation is one he needs to address. He might need to try and get a top rookie pick next year to get one of those studs, but if he is going to be as good as Fantasy Pro says. So that's JB. Now moving to number 4, the Celibate commish. Squibb. Okay, so Squibb, and I thought a brilliant move, pissed me off though. Did not want it. I wanted it vetoed for sure. Trades back and gains this pick here. Amazing move to get Herbert on a trade back and then get another guy. But then he goes out there and he reaches on ETN. I don't even care if he's an ETN guy. He reached on him, so I don't really care. I think there was a chance he fell to this pick that he traded, so kind of negated that whole thing. But in the moment, I was pretty mad about it, but I still like the ETN pick. I just think he knew that he was probably likely going around the turn. So if you wanted him, you needed to reach on him. So a little bit of the value of the trade loss. But tight end premium super flex to go Herbert, Lance, and then Mark Andrews. That's a pretty awesome start. I think Lance has some bust potential that people don't talk about because I don't think he's a good NFL quarterback. I think what we saw last year was pretty concerning, especially coming out of college. The thing on him was this kid's smart and he doesn't turn the ball over. And then what he was doing last year seemed to negate all of that. But he's a freak athlete, and for fantasy purposes, he's going to be good until he doesn't play. But then Squibb, this is my problem with Squibb's team, and I know Squibb very well. So I'm feel fine taking shots at his team, knowing fully well he's got a pretty good team here. But he went Trey Lance, who's a risky pick, ETN, which is a risky pick, Burks, a risky pick, Williams here. He's not. I told you earlier he's my favorite rookie receiver. But with all these already risky picks, I don't know how that fits in to your team. CH is another guy I'm not sure about. And then he's got Isaiah Spiller. he's just taking a lot of these young rookies. He's kind of fallen in love with the potential here. So it shouldn't be surprising when I say that Fantasy Pros has him as the second highest dynasty guy, but he is only fifth on the season. And I think that's because he's got a lot of volatility in a lot of these picks. I like a lot of them, but to put them all on the same team, that makes me a little bit nervous. What do you think of this team, Mikey?
I like his team from a dynasty perspective. I feel like the average age on his squad is probably, if you put it all together, like 23 years old, probably something
Yeah.
ridiculous
I
like
was very
that.
mad when he took Robinson because it was so against his MO. He was
Oh
going young,
yeah,
young,
yeah,
young, and I wanted Robinson so bad. Then he goes and gets him. Ugh, whatever.
yeah. Again, yeah, Trey Lance is a guy that I think, yeah, he's got a really high ceiling, but yeah, last year didn't really look too promising. But you never know. Josh Allen kind of started off really shaky, and then he ended up turning around. So who knows if we see something similar with Trey Lance. ETN was a guy I had on my radar, but not that early at 4-4. I think that was probably a reach, like you said. And then again with the receivers, he took some risk there with Traylon Burks, Elijah Moore, and Jamison Williams. Kind of three big swings that they could make out, but yeah, I guess he's shorted up with Allen Robinson. He's kind of, I think he'll do well in Los Angeles, especially with Sean McVay. I think he'll utilize Robinson really well. So that might be kind of a stopgap for a year or two there.
Yeah,
And
I think
then,
you're right.
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely a lot of potential here with this team. Doesn't look like it's Squibb's first rodeo with a dynasty league. I do
Definitely
like a lot of
not.
his picks, a lot of young guys. I think Robinson is probably his oldest guy at 28 years old. And then yeah, it looks like he took a swing on Daniel Jones, which I also don't hate. I think he's got Dayball now. So he's kind of got a new situation. I think the whole Giants team quit on Joe Judge last year. So with some competent coaching, we'll be able to see what Daniel Jones can do.
Yeah, I think that Squibb's team has the highest ceiling by far, and if he hits on more of them than he misses, he's going to be a problem for a really long time, as you're mentioning with the age of his team. But I also think Squibb's team could completely crash and burn here. So we'll see what happens. I think he'll probably be somewhere in between than one of the two extremes, and he'll be I think probably middle of the pack this year, and then from moving forward each subsequent year, his team's going to be creeping up the standings. Fantasy Pros agrees they have him fifth on this season and second in Dynasty. Now moving to the team that Fantasy Pros thinks didn't know this was a dynasty. It's their top team for this year, but eighth in in a dynasty. Now they had him so high in for this season alone that the way it kind of averaged out, even though he's 1-8 and Squibb was 5-2 on the two rankings. With the heavy weighting of being like by far the best team in the redraft, he ends up coming in third here. So this is a team that Pustin's team. You've been calling him Vladimir Pustin, but Justin here, his team's going to be a problem this year. From that point forward, we'll see. He's another guy that's only got two quarterbacks so far, neither on the young end. He's got two tight ends, both solid, really solid, neither on the young end. Jonathan Taylor, he's a running back. He's his best player, but he's a running back. He does have Waddle, but then he's got Mike Evans and Tyler Lockett. So I don't know. I don't know. This is a team that's obviously very good this year, but I'm missing some of the youth that we've seen from at least the team we just looked at and some of the teams we're going to see in front of him here as well. What do you think, Mikey?
I agree with you, and from a dynasty perspective, it doesn't look. It doesn't have a lot of young guys, but kind of the name of the game is kind of go win a championship when you can, and it looks like I don't know, maybe judging from his first couple picks, he just decided to stick with kind of the first year approach, go win it all, and if that's your strategy and it works, then hey, it works. You win a championship.
Yeah,
So
I think he's a good bet to be the favorite to start the year. One of a
yeah,
few teams, but this team is very good for 2022. We'll see moving forward what starts to happen, but okay. Then moving in, we just entered the podium, so getting bronze there was Pustin. Now second, and I mean this. Okay, Brady, like I love you. We're great friends. You're definitely just drafting straight off of Fantasy Pros. I mean, dude, I have no questions about it. That's what's happening here. Brady coming in at number 2. He's made one trade. When he traded, it looks like back. No, yeah, he traded back to take Damian Harris, which I think was a decent pick. Again, we don't know what's going to happen in the Patriots backfield, but he could be out of here this year. We don't really know. He could be driven into the ground. But Lamar Jackson, great start at QB. I think paired with Tannehill gives him a really good tandem this year. I don't like the Winston pick, but apparently Fantasy Pros likes. I'm assuming that's why he took him. Williams, I already talked about. I do not like Williams. Williams is in. I think for sure is in a committee. I just do not see the Broncos bucking their own trends. I don't see the Mr. Captain Committee bucking his own trends because of Williams, especially when Melvin Gordon, although old, is going to be very competitive. Diggs, though, that's a great pick. Barkley and Gibson, two guys that have had a lot of hype in the past, but haven't lived up to it. Post-hype sleeper, it's never a bad idea. Smith, love that pick, was thinking about him. Keenan Allen, though, I don't know. So, you can tell here that I think that Brady's just doing a lot of looking at who's available on the rankings because this team doesn't sit with me as well as maybe some of these other teams we're looking at, but it comes in here as the number 2 team for this year and the number 3 team for Dynasty. Mikey, do you think I'm being too hard on our silver place team here?
No, I think you're kind of hitting it right. I think this kind of, I was trying to decide if it was a kind of a now or later team, if you draft him for Dynasty or draft him for this year, but he's kind of got a mix of the two. I'm not a huge fan of Javonte Williams at 2.5. I think Javonte Williams would be a lot more valuable if he was on another team that kind of featured one running
Steelers?
back. Yeah. I love Javonte Williams. I love him as a player, but just being trapped in Denver with kind of not running back by committee, but him and Melvin Gordon just kind of splitting stuff. I think that just is always going to bite into his workload. I think Javonte Williams might be a little overhyped this year in fantasy. I do like Saquon Barkley a lot. I want to see kind of what Daboll does. They say he likes to scheme up a lot of throws to the running backs, and with a quarterback like Daniel Jones, you got to kind of get confidence with him, and a lot of that confidence could come from just short little checkdowns to the running back and letting a guy like Saquon Barkley take off. So I think Barkley might be a little bit slept on this year just because he's one of those backs that can kind of do it all, and I think he might see if there's a year for him to kind of start his revival, I think this is the year, especially with Daboll and a young quarterback like Daniel Jones. I like the Devonta Smith pick a lot. Keenan Allen, he's a little bit old, but I mean, you know what you're getting with Keenan Allen. He's kind of a PPR machine. I like Freiermuth, the young tight end. That's always a good pick. And then Jameis Winston, I don't even hate. I think that could be a decent little super flex play as long as his knee is all right. I think he's coming back from an ACL tear. But I think my favorite pick from him is the Saquon Barkley pick. He was definitely a guy I was going to look at if he got to me.
Interesting. Yeah, I think as I sit back and look at it, this team, it's just a lot of guys that I am personally happen to be fading. But I can see how this team can compete this year. Comparing it to the team we were just looking at in Pustin's team, it is a younger team than Pustin. There are some old players here, but it's definitely not as old, especially when he's got Lamar Jackson, whereas Pustin has Stafford and Cousins. Brady's going to have Jackson for a while. So I can see why this team ended up in front, even though there's a lot of players that I was personally fading on this team. But what can I say? That brings us to our top team. And if you haven't figured it out already, it's both of Mikey and I's number 1 rival. So I expect no love for this team, who's definitely looking at the Fantasy Pros rankings, because he's not just the top team in the Dynasty according to Fantasy Pros. It's by quite a significant margin. So he might just be reading it off the list. It's Dave's team. He goes Kyle Pitts here with the first pick, tight end premium, like a generational talent at tight end. Made a lot of sense. I was hoping maybe Pitts would fall to me so I would not get Prescott and McCaffrey, but alas. Swift. I kind of like Swift in redrafts. I'm willing to take the risk on him there. And in Dynasty, I like him even more, honestly, because if you whiff on a running back, everyone has running back problems. It's just not a big deal. Now, here's where it gets interesting to me is his quarterback approach. He went Watson, who we don't think is going to play for the first half of the year. Then he goes Mac Jones, who I'm a Patriots fan, so I'm high on him. But from a fantasy standpoint, he's not he doesn't scream fantasy quarterback. Davis Mills, he pairs him with, and Carson Wentz. He's trying to kind of scrape up some value of these QBs that fell. So I end up kind of liking what he does. But the start with Watson, kind of it's this weird move where it's like he has a lot of picks here where he's trying to compete now, but Watson kind of puts him in a situation where he needs to focus a little more on dynasty. I'm trying to find things to hate, but he kind of pulls it off. With Cam Akers, DJ Moore, Ken Walker. These are young guys. And then Cooper's the guy that's going to help him this year. Cooks as well. Ramondre's the guy a lot of people are high on. Yeah. I mean, really, I want to hate it, but I can't see much to hate. I kind of like the team. I get why it's up there. What do you think, Mikey?
I like his team a lot. I think for the first 8 weeks or however long Deshaun Watson is suspended, he might be kind of just playing matchup at quarterback. Kind of went with a volume approach, just kind of take whatever his best matchups are. But then I don't hate it once Watson gets back, being able to pick between Jones, Mills, and Wentz. Maybe he gets lucky and one of those guys kind of gets hot and he just kind of plays matchup there. Cam Akers is a guy, I don't know, I'm not super high on, but I don't know. I guess last year he was coming off an injury. I don't know if he really looked the same last year. Kenneth Walker, like I said, he's a rookie running back, and I think Penny kind of has that running back one role unlocked in Seattle for now, and then it'll be remain to be seen if Walker can kind of dethrone him. I do like the Michael Thomas pick once he comes back. I think Michael Thomas is still a good receiver. He just hasn't played in like 3 years. So once he's back and Watson's back, I think he's going to have a really good squad. I do like Brian Robinson was like the running back from Washington was the guy I was definitely looking at. Because,
I almost took him when I took Zamir White, so he felt quite a bit.
We obviously know Antonio Gibson has kind of injury problems. He's always kind of been a little bit dinged up. And then J.D. McKissick, last I heard, they were kind of working him at receiver. So I think Brian Robinson, while he is the number 3 running back on the depth chart, I think his path to the playing field is probably a little bit shorter than some people would expect it to be.
Yeah, I think pretty much the only thing I do not like about this team is Michael Thomas. I think he's going to be a complete zero forever. But at this point,
he hasn't played in like 3 years, so
he fell so far to him, like so far from his actual value that he was able to go DJ Moore, Cooper, Davis. I'm not the biggest Davis guy, but I get the pick, and then Brandon Cooks. I mean, it really didn't matter at that point what happens with Michael Thomas. He's probably going to be targeting receiver a little bit here. I am looking at his team, though, and I'm seeing he went Cam Akers, then he handcuffed him with Henderson. And I'm up here. I've already wasted an hour on my clock. I'm wondering if I'm going to get off here, and I'm going to go ahead and take here Kyron Williams. I'm sure Dave wants him. And I like Williams' talent a lot. He's a guy that fell because he had a bad combine, but his tape is arguably the best tape outside of Breece Hall. So I might make that pick. We'll see. But that's all the teams. I'll run through them one more time. Top dog is Dave, and second is Brady. Third is Pustin, Justin. Then is Squibb, JB, myself, Rigatoni, Ryan Janiga, Andrew Kime, and then Mikey, who obviously we both agree should have been higher, especially Mikey. And then Squibb B. And then finally, rounding out the guy that's doing his own thing, the one guy that's been on auto this whole time, Moyer. But that's our podcast for you today. Breaking this down, I'm going to make this a weekly thing. I'm not really sure how much I'll do it in the off season, but trying to get in a rhythm here for people to join me. But thanks for joining me today, Mikey. You clearly know a lot about what you're talking about. I need to get some of these guys we took shots in at here with us, and I want you and Dave on a pod as well.
Yeah, we need Dave, we need Squibb, we need everybody, we need them all in here.
Yes, at some point I'm sure we'll get everyone. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Mikey. Have a good rest of your day, and to everyone else when they see this, deal with the fact that I took an hour on the clock to record this. But yeah, goodbye.